And how do you go about doing this? Like, it's such a vast outlook on it to like peel back layer by layer, but like, where do you even begin?
That's a great question because I gave you the most advanced, profound answer
Mhm.
first. It starts with learning what I call self-mastery. Okay. And it again, the conscious mind we're all familiar with. That's what we're thinking, like
Mhm.
positive thinking and affirmations, right? That's just the tippity tip of the iceberg, right? And at one point on my journey, I went to a mentor's event and I learned about the subconscious and how that's 95% compared to the 5% conscious.
Mhm.
And that blew my mind. And I started blowing out all kinds of resistance that I just hadn't been aware of before. Okay. So you've got mastery of the subconscious because we're all in our little bubbles of
Mhm.
reality. We all perceive everything uniquely. Okay. And I can help people start to decode that so you understand why you do what you do, why you perceive things as you do. Okay. And it's really about starting to question and be aware of everything.
Mhm.
And then I'm really good. I can feel when there's resistance and I can feel when it's released. It's just an awareness. It's a gift. I view everything
Mhm.
has been given to me. Okay. And I don't know, I'm just very blessed and very committed to
You're
being
in
of
tuned.
service.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then the same with energy. I feel energy. Almost no one talks about emotions in this world as far as how they affect us,
Mhm.
but it's so obvious how they affect us. Like if you're feeling stressed, like a lot of us will get tight neck and shoulder muscles.
Mhm.
Okay. So you're feeling the energy, and then that energy manifests into the physical body. And traditional Chinese medicine, thousands of years ago, mapped emotions to every organ of the body. So
Mhm.
they understood how emotions affect us. So, and it's literally just energy. Experiences from childhood leave an imprint on us, whether it's trauma, whether it's, and it only matters how you felt as the time, because I don't like labels necessarily.
Mhm.
If it affected you emotionally at the time and you didn't know how to release it, it's probably still in your field.
So do you
So
do inner child work? Do you go back
I
all the way to
do.
childhood? Okay.
Yeah. And we don't just talk about it, we release it. So it's gone. And if we're going to do a visualization today, I can do
Mhm.
an inner child visualization.
Yeah, that would be
Depends on if
great.
we got like 5 or 7 minutes. It would
Yeah,
be
we
a
can
really short one.
I have it on here as the last thing we're going to do, which is actually what I was about to transition into is you do your energetic releases. Now, is this just through, like you just said, like kind of your hands and, or do you use any other tools, medicines, anything to do your energetic releases? And if you can just like explain what exactly occurs. Like I've spoken to so many different people that I've had on here. I had someone who did energetic releases through like their aura, and they can like see these people's auras. They can see what they needed to release based on the color of their aura. So I feel like there's so many different ways that you can release energy, like so many ways. So if you want to just explain your way, and then we can definitely get into a visualization release. I would love that.
Yeah, we all perceive differently. For me, I feel it, and if it's a certain emotion or energy, it's just given to me. But you don't have to figure it out, number one. A lot of us are mental and we think we have to figure out the exact emotion or the exact experience. Sometimes the universe wants you to figure it out to be aware of something, and then
Mhm.
I like to believe they'll make you aware. But a lot of this stuff is just old energy, old experiences that it's like, okay, I was just learning about experiencing anger or abandonment or loneliness or whatever it is. And then you're like, okay. And then you just let that old energy go. If you think about it, like if you can't forgive something, or if when you think about a past experience, if you have a negative emotion that comes up,
Mm-hmm.
That's telling you you're still attached or hanging on to
Mm-hmm.
that energy. So once you've let it go, you won't feel that anymore. And I do just guide people through a visualization. I take them to meet an inner child. I always say, you don't have to experience anything anymore. We assign subconsciously or consciously weights or meanings to emotions like grief or trauma or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, but it's just energy. So I'll reframe it as it's just flavors. It could be
Mm-hmm.
cherry, it could be strawberry. If you don't like it so much, maybe it's black licorice, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It's just the flavor and it's just energy. You don't have to assign any other meaning to it.
And is this
And
the person is present, or are they like, is it kind of like a meditative state?
you can meditate, or I like to just visualize. Not
Okay.
everyone's a meditator, and people assign different meanings to meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you ask me, I'm going to guide you through a meditation, it's like, well, I have my own way of meditating,
Mm-hmm.
which is different than most. So I might be like, but usually I'll just say, would you like to play, Mariah? And then I'll say, imagine, you know, whatever you want to set your intention for. Would you
Okay.
like to go through it and
Yeah.
experience it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Mhm.
So I keep
Do you
my eyes
have
open, right?
anything,
Do I
whatever
have
you
to?
want?
Okay. I'm overthinking it.
Like, like, yeah, I often meditate with my eyes open, and it's how I stay in that state even when
Okay.
I'm going about my day. If you relax your vision so you see wide to both sides, if you start to pay attention to how we look
Mm-hmm.
at one thing, and that's the mind or the animal. It's focused on food, survival, or sex. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can relax it, it's like when you look out over the ocean where there's nothing to focus on out on the horizon, it relaxes your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then you just start to notice your breath. And I want you to feel in your heart again, because when you're feeling in your heart, you're in your heart. So find a feeling, a memory of love or joy or happiness. It could be with a person or a place or an animal or pet. It doesn't matter. Just find that feeling. And when you're here, you'll notice it's hard to think. And when I learned this technique, I'm like, man, the heart feels so good. Why would I go anywhere else? Okay. Do you have an intention? Do you have any intention in mind? Anything that you'd like to work on?
I would love to work on being a little bit more chill and going with the flow. I have been letting a lot of negative emotions take over, and it really severely like affects my day-to-day mood and my routine. And I have healthy out outlooks that I use, like working out, meditation, but lately it's just been morning to night, just pure anxiety and panic attacks for like the past
Okay.
month.
I was going to ask you to give some specifics like the anxiety and expectations and about being perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, do we know anyone who's perfect? No. So why do we
Mm-hmm.
expect ourselves to be perfect?
Mm-hmm.
And part of that's being present, right? Instead of thinking about what might happen or what's going to happen and imagining all the things that could go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in your heart and feeling, you're also present. Okay. So let's have everyone play along, set your own intention, anything you want to work on. If you don't have anything specific, I like to ask, just bring me something for my highest good. Could be an awareness I didn't have before, or it could be releasing something that's holding you back, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, focusing on your example for anxiety, for example, um, consciously, are you aware of an early life experience where you first felt anxiety or
Yes,
any similar things?
I've had anxiety since I was probably, I want to say maybe 8 or 7. My parents had it was a very rough, um, traumatic childhood growing up with them screaming at each other almost on a daily basis. So I always kind of thought it was normal until I got older and started talking to people, and I would have panic attacks in like high school and college. And I realized, oh, people don't have this like on a weekly basis. I didn't know that. So I've had it for so long. It's just kind of second nature, but it comes in waves. Like I'll go a year without having any severe panic attacks. And then just lately it's been awful. And I try not to turn to like drugs or anything like that. I try to just kind of deal with the storm until it calms down. But lately it's been difficult.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing so openly. It's good. So everyone has their intention. I want you to invite, we're just going to imagine, okay? I want you to imagine that childlike version of you, whether it's 6, 7, or 8. If you can picture her, that's great. You might get more than one inner child, by
Hmm.
the way. And for people who may struggle to visualize, I say just imagine a picture of you when you were little, and we'll assume that that's the perfect inner child for you to come forward. Okay. And again, we're not reliving anything, we're just observers. We're in a very safe and protected place right now. We're just going to observe and interact a little bit with the inner child, and we're going to be guided on what we can release. Okay. So invite your inner child or children to come forward. Can you see her or feel her?
Hmm.
Or we'll just imagine. Okay. I want you to, do you just have one or multiple?
Just one.
I want you to give her a hug and a kiss and thank her for coming forward to help you. And I want you to look into her eyes, and I just want you to be aware, like an observer. What emotions is she experiencing right now? And we're asking her what you can release and be aware of today for your highest good. Okay.
Hmm.
So obviously there's some anxiety,
Hmm.
right? She also feels unsafe and
Hmm.
insecure, right? What other emotions or flavors of energy come up for you?
She's sad. She's very sad. But I think she hides that with a very strong exterior.
Okay.
Yeah, but she's
Mm.
very deep down sad.
And you're probably aware, right? When we're holding things in, right? This is our chance to let them go.
Mhm.
Energy is meant to flow. So when you chose to hold it in, and by the way, there's no judgment. I had rough things as a child, and many of
Mhm.
us have our experiences. We want to let the energy flow. We want to have the experience, take the golden nugget, and let all the BS go.
Mhm.
Okay. All that energy, just let it go. So she's holding it in. She's worried, right? This is where the anxiety comes in. She doesn't know what's going to happen. There's some fear. She's scared, right?
Mhm.
I want you to envision cords coming out of both you and your little girl. And these cords are associated with these different emotions, experiences, or energies. If for some of us who had experiences, you can even use images, sounds, things that were said, different sensory aspects. You can assign a cord to it. Okay. The cords may be different colors, they may be different textures, they may be different thicknesses, or some people may even see objects. We're just
Mhm.
playing here, there's no rules. And then I want you to gently start to release each one. And I want you to feel lighter as you do it. So feel, visualize, and feel when we talked
Mhm.
about manifesting. And both you and the little girl, you're pulling cords, okay, one at a time. So we're going to release your anxiety. We're going to pull out a big juicy cord for that deep sadness she was hiding within. And I'm going to ask you to choose to love yourself. We can choose to hold on to these old energies and experiences,
Mhm.
or we can choose to set ourselves free. Okay, so choose to love yourself and set yourself free from all that past experiences and emotions. It's just energy, so let it go. I feel like there's some grief. Okay, so let's pull a cord for grief. I don't know if there's anything you were grieving, if there was any loss that was associated with the sadness, but grief's a good emotion to let go. She may have felt unwanted and unloved.
Mm-hmm.
So let those emotions go. And for anyone else participating, whatever comes up for you, just imagine a chord, visualize it, feel it, choose to love yourself and let it go. And even if you don't find a name for the emotion, because our vocabulary is so limited, just let the energy go. You don't have to figure it out. Just send it away. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot, usually at the beginning, I have clients rate something on a scale of 0 to 10 with intensity. And then at the end, you can tell how much it's lowered.
It went down. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's okay.
I can definitely tell you
Other,
my tensions just from today have probably been at like an 8.59. They're pretty much up there. But I think
wow.
this entire conversation from start when we were talking about numerology to the end, I think this is one of those aspects where I thrive, which is why I created a business that's all about lifestyle and mindfulness, because these topics like this is what helps me be in the present moment and to kind of learn different ways to cope with those feelings, but also being able to share that with other people who can resonate it too. So this is like one of those happy moments that I see myself in, besides like the fitness and working out, because that's also one of my like safe havens. But doing things like this is just, that's one of those times where I feel it coming down just from this conversation alone.
Mm-hmm. I like to say more happens unseen than seen.
Hmm.
And people are like, can you explain it? I'm like, I'm not sure
Yeah.
sometimes. It's just energy
Hmm.
and we're all connected and everything is connected. Okay. And I can feel it. So you still have more to release. So whether it's just other emotions or flavors,
Hmm.
let's see what else comes up. Are there any more fears or more specific fears she had?
It was a very, my thing was I hid all my emotions back then. Like I never shed a tear ever for years and years and years when all of this like anger and fighting was happening. So I feel like I'm starting to see that play out more in my adulthood. And there was like a recent situation between my father and I that brought me back to that inner child that I was so triggered. I cried every single day, all day for like 2 weeks straight. Even just thinking about it like made me cry because I haven't seen that since I was like 8, 9. So I was like, oh shit, I thought I dealt with this. I thought I was good. And then the same situation happened at my, 20 years later, 15, about like 15 years to 20 years later. And I'm like all over again. I'm back to like that little girl. And I was like, I still to this day, and that happened the end of October, I'm still like shaken up about it. So there's certain things that I feel like I do heal and work through, but then when it occurs, I'm still learning the process of overcoming those emotions. Like it's not a smooth sailing ride, unfortunately.
Right. You can get to a point when you've got the tools, you're like, ooh, yes, I found something
Yeah.
else,
Yeah.
something new. And then, right, this is when you're really in your power. So, what emotions are in there with that? I heard you mention anger.
Anger. A
What
lot
was
of
what
anger.
was triggered? The
What was
anger and rage.
it was I was also frustrated. That was another one because I felt like I worked so hard at this relationship between my father and I for like almost 4 years now. We finally I thought we were like we dealt with all the teenage and the when I was younger shit. I thought we like figured it out, and then it just he took it we were like 20 steps ahead, and then that situation took us like 1,000 steps back. And I still don't know if I can get back to all the time that I put into healing this. So it's also, I'm sad about it because I was working really hard at that relationship for him to just like fuck it up in a situation. And now I'm just like, I have feelings, not, I don't want to say regret. I don't, that's not the feeling, but I have feelings of like, I just don't want to deal with it. Father or not, I don't care enough to keep working at it if you're just gonna not just be a better person. Like, I don't care what your title is in my life.
Right? I mean, I view nothing as personal, okay? Like he's in his bubble of
Mhm.
reality, making his choices, and we project our perceptions the way we perceive everything onto everyone else, right? Because we don't know anything else.
Mhm.
Key in it is for you is what is he teaching you? And what are your lessons and
Mhm.
what is it you need to release?
Mhm.
And honestly, when you go back to soul hacking, okay, the parent child relationship is the strongest because you came in, you wanted to learn certain lessons and grow and do certain things. And he signed an agreement to teach you those things.
Right.
Okay. And if you haven't gotten it yet, he's obligated to still push your buttons.
Right.
Okay. And one of the profound realizations is that when you get it and you're no longer triggered and you've really got it, he'll never push those buttons again. You actually do him
Yay.
a favor. He's like, I don't have to press Mariah's button anymore with this because she finally got it.
Right. I think he still knows how to push it, but I also, after that situation, I was able to communicate in a way that I've never been able to communicate before. So I think that was a huge thing, positive thing that I could take out of the situation, whether that was the
Nice.
lesson that I needed to learn, that maybe I was kind of just fixing things and not saying why I was fixing them, or but there was like a whole 30-minute conversation, and I'm just like I was throwing all this at him like, this is how you made me feel, you reminded me of this time, that it like I was able to see it for how it is and tie back into my inner child self, which I think was a great lesson learned. Like, I'll pat myself on the back for that one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fantastic. So what we're doing now is we're just releasing it where it was imprinted.
Mhm.
Okay. So we may get it all today. And then there's so many angles to this.
Yeah.
Like you can detach energetically from people. Um, I don't know how much we're gonna do today, but nothing is complicated. It's all simple, and it's all just energy. It's just awareness. So I want you to release the big juicy anger, and I want you to envision Dad on the other side of these cords. Okay, and I want you to release all the energy between you and Dad. Any agreements between the two of you, you can ask to be released as well. And you can imagine chords for that, or you can burn contracts, or however you want to visualize. Again,
Mhm.
have fun, play, and imagine. That's all it is. This is how powerful you are. I mean, you came in here with your 2 1s and your 5, your 10 1s. So you have big lessons in being independent and
Mhm.
strong on your own. How are you feeling now?
I am holding it together right now, but I definitely know as soon as this call ends, I'm gonna go for a run and probably cry. And then I'm gonna feel 1,000 times better because I'm keeping it all together right now. Not I like it's because we're recording right now. If we were in like a legit
Well,
session, I would be going crazy. But I realize that I need to have a good cry sesh in like
okay.
20
Well,
minutes.
this is good for everyone else too. Like if you're feeling the emotions come up, this is your chance to release them.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I
And
would be releasing them, like I said, but this is a
I know,
call right now.
I know. You're taking a slight delayed brain check, which
Yeah.
is, I understand. But for everyone else, if you feel it coming up, this is your chance. It wants to come out. If it's on the
Mhm.
surface, choose to love yourself
Mhm.
and let it go. This is really all you have to do. Um, there's just really good energy. I have lots of help. There's good energy for doing this.
Mhm.
So whatever you can release, even if something pops in your head,
Mhm.
just trust it and go with it and let it go. We're largely on a journey of like becoming and being love again.
Mhm.
And it all starts with learning to love ourselves,
Mhm.
right? Being present and not choosing those negative thoughts and learning how to manage our emotions and our energies. And when you shift everything from the negative, and we're all negative, like
Mhm.
society and our parents, they program us to find every imperfection. You know, you do 100 things right and one thing wrong, and we focus on the one thing
Right.
we screwed up. I mean, it's just ridiculous,
Right.
right? So when you master it, you put everything in the negative and move it to the positive. This is where you really transform and you
Yeah.
become like the person you're supposed to be
Yeah. Well, thank you
in your
so
power.
much. Yeah. Thank you for basically giving me a little therapy session that I didn't know I needed. And like I said before, I was like, today was such a rough day. And I was just like, ugh, I don't know what I need to do right now. Besides, I was just looking forward to going to sleep because sleeping it off is like my forte. But I'm so glad that we were able to touch on so many things that I didn't realize we were going to get into. But I'm so grateful and appreciative for your time and sharing your knowledge and your wisdom and walking us through that. And I'm pretty sure so many people can resonate with it once they tune in.
All right, let me do a little one or two short steps too. I
Okay.
just want to say it's important to have closure with your inner child, okay?
Okay.
So you can ask them, is there more? When you've got it all, they'll literally be smiling and happy,
Hmm.
okay? So do you feel yours is smiling and happy, or is there more for you?
I feel like she might have a little bit more, but she is, I don't know if chill is the right word, but she's definitely not as on edge as she was
Okay.
in the beginning of this.
And you can see all we did is invite them. You can always come meet
Hmm.
them just for a time. We'll leave her hanging. In a session, she'd be smiling because we'd get it
Hmm.
all. And then I always like to say, you know, is there anything you'd like to share with her? Right? Any message you want to
Hmm.
tell her? So everyone share with your inner child, and then you can ask if they have a message for you. And whenever that's done, you just give them a hug and a kiss, and then, you know, you let them go. But it's so beautiful and so powerful what happens.
Hmm.
You see, like therapy, like people have gone back and they've figured out what their experiences were,
Hmm.
but you've got to release it.
Right.
The releasing is the key.
Hmm.
Okay. And as you can tell, it's not rocket science. Everything I do is very simple.
Right. I feel like growing up, I actually went to, I think, 10 therapists between when I was probably like 7 or 8 up until my, I think, late teenage years. And therapy never worked for me, like literally ever. I just couldn't, like, I would walk out of those sessions feeling even worse. I would just, I mean, granted, maybe I wasn't finding the right therapist, but after 10, you would think I would find at least one good one. So in 2021, how old was I? I think I was 20, 21, maybe 22. No, I was 21. And I started getting into like the spiritual journey. So I met with a shaman for the first time, and she did like a 2-hour session talking about inner child. And I never realized, like, the one session I had with this one shaman took me years ahead than probably over 100 sessions I had with the 10 therapists I saw in my lifetime, which made me realize like this is the work that I need to be doing for myself. Grant, it's not going to work out for everybody, but for me, I was like, finally, I found something that I can connect to, which made me want to dive even deeper into all these different spiritual like modalities with reading like self-help books, talking to different people with abilities like yourself and others that I've met along this journey of having my business and learning more about these topics. But I was like, finally, I found what it is that I've been missing and looking for this whole time because there's only so, I mean, granted, I can do a lot. Like I myself, I'm my own one person. I'm doing this for me and myself only. But sometimes you need help and you need good people in your corner who are going to direct you in the right way. And no offense to all those therapists, but they were not
Mhm.
directing me on the path that I needed all those times, all those years ago. So finally, I'm in this like positive path of aligning more and getting more in tune and letting things like this go. Even though I've talked about healing my inner child before, but it's not as profound as it was when I was trying to do that with these therapists. That just it wasn't a connection. They did not connect. So that's why I'm so in tune with this like line of work. And so like like I said, if we were not in a session right now, I would be a hot mess, like an absolute hot mess. But it's just it's a beautiful, like you said, it's a really beautiful thing. And after this, I'm going to be a hot mess because it was such a beautiful thing.
Well, and that's like our journey, right? You come in here with the challenges and you have all these experiences. And like
Hmm.
I was whipped as a child, right? Which is past life persecution being reinstituted in this life, like whipped all over my body kind of thing.
Hmm.
And then, later in life, my unborn son, his mom took off, so my son was kind of taken from me.
Hmm.
So it's like you have your experiences and you suffer, right?
Hmm.
And then you develop the compassion and you have the lessons and experiences. And then it's like I was exposed to the healing. And
Hmm.
then all I was just curious, like I went to this giant conference for mind body technique. There's like 400 people in a giant room and they're doing their thing. And I could feel it. And I was like, what is this? Right.
Mhm.
And just that curiosity, I was led from like one mentor, one modality to the next, to the next, to
Mhm.
the next, to the next. And now I'm creating my own modalities. And like
Mhm.
what I just did for you,
Mhm.
it's all my own way. It's
Mhm.
just all intuitive, right?
Mhm.
So when you're open and you're curious and the door's open and you go through it,
Right.
you know, you'll be guided every
Yeah.
step of the way.
Yes, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And like I said, I'm so grateful and appreciative. And I absolutely love this. And I didn't know I needed it, but I did need it. And thank you for walking us through that, sharing everything about numerology, soul hacking. And like I said, there's probably going to be so many people that resonate with this. But if you want, before we end the session, if you want to just let listeners know where they can connect with you, whether it's social media, a website, if they're interested in further connecting with you and maybe doing a session.
Yep. Everything's under my full name, Dwight Dale Miller. So .com. I like Instagram the best. I'm not on social media all the time,
Hmm.
but my email's dwightdalemiller at Yahoo. So just reach out.
Perfect. And if you miss any of that, I will include it in the show notes so you can check it out there too. Dwight, thank you so much again for joining, and I will talk to you guys next time.
All right. Thank you, Mariah.